Sooner or later, turn in my favor. Yeah. Oh, hello, everyone. It is yours truly, Dr. Shamika Dean. You guys come on in. If you are new to me, just know that I am your favorite marketing solutionist. I help you to bridge the gap in your profit problems by helping you to shift from sporadic to systematic sales in your business with a marketing and automation plan that helps you to also only work um, 10% of the time by automating 90% of your sales. So come on in as you're tuning in. Make sure that you share and invite others to join us today. Um, And when you share this video, I want you to share it with the caption that says you need to tune in. So how many of y'all are going to do that for me real quick? Just share the video with your audience and say, hey, you need to tune in because you're not going to be selfish, right? You're going to share the wealth. And matter of fact, let me do what I'm telling you to do. Okay. So I'm going to share on my page real quick so that other people can tune in. Let's see. All right. There we go. Hey, Shamik. Hey, Tracy. Where y'all tuning in from before we get started? Let me know where you're tuning in from. I want to make sure that I share it to the right page. Hey, Aisha. I see YouTubers are tuning in. Make sure I shared this to my personal page. I did. Okay. There we go. All right. So first things first, thank you for sharing. Thank you from Jamaica, from Daytona. Hey, my cousin is on here from Fayetteville. Hello. So, real quick, I want to remind you all that Mogul Minded Marketing, my new live segment is going to start November 1st at 1:00 p.m. Central Standard Time, right? So it's Mogul Minded Marketing, and it's about helping everyday entrepreneurs market like a mogul. So I want you to make sure that you share your calendar for that. I'm also getting ready to do my book launch in January, so clear your schedules for that. I will be giving you the exact date later this week. But I wanted to get on here and just do a word of just encouragement for those who are building their businesses, those who are considering building their businesses. I wanted to just do a quick word of, just some encouragement because let's be honest, this journey of building, it gets lonely. And I didn't know until recently how high the rate of depression was for business owners and entrepreneurs. It was very alarming to me. I actually found that out this past weekend while I was speaking at an event in Atlanta. And so, I also received, thank you for sharing, cousin. And I also received a message from someone that really prompted, this video. And so oftentimes, when we're on this journey and we begin to look at other people and we begin to compare our journeys or compare where we are right now to where they are, it can cause us to feel as if we're not doing enough, or even as if we're not going to get there, right? Like we're not going to get to that place, that journey, that destiny. And so we begin again to compare ourselves. And so we're looking at what they're doing and how they're doing it. And then all of a sudden, we get in this place of sadness, this place of discouragement, because we feel like, man, I'm just not there yet. How many of you all, if you're entrepreneurs or if you're considering this, or just in general, how many of you feel like you're just not there yet? When you look at someone else's journey, you feel like, man, I have so far to go, right? That I'm just really not where I want to be. And so that place can be very, very hard. It can be very discouraging. It can make you question, your value, make you question if you're really called to do this, or you're really going to be able to finally reach that milestone. And so it just brings me, back to my journey. And I think that's what I want to do, is I want to share my journey with you all so that you can understand that, first of all, you're not alone. Second of all, that everyone who's on this walk has been where you are, right? Sorry, so my mouth. They've been where you are. And so I want to share my personal journey with you all. So when I started out in this thing, first of all, I didn't choose entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship chose me. I was fired from my job in 2012. And 2012 was one of the hardest years of my life. In January of 2012, my daughter's father passed away. In February of 2012, I was divorced. In March of 2012, I was caught in a tornado and suffered injuries to my spine. Myself and my children were all caught in this tornado. And also my son's grandfather passed away. Okay. In August of 2012, I was in a car accident. In October of 2012, I was in another car accident. Also in August, I started having all these weird medical issues going on with my bodies. The doctors couldn't figure out what was going on. And in November 2012, I was fired from my job. So again, as you can see, 2012 was one of the worst years of my life. It was very, very difficult. There was like one thing after the other. Not to mention, other things, just life, just going on. And so when I got into entrepreneurship, of course, I got into entrepreneurship because I was terminated. I was terminated from my job at no fault of my own. Long story short, I was fired for no good reason, right? And so when God told me to start entrepreneurship or start my own business, I really didn't know what to do. I didn't have a blueprint. I didn't have anyone to hold my hand and tell me how to start a business. Because number one, I didn't even know what type of business I was supposed to start. And so God told me that, I had a story to tell. And that's where my quote came from that I share often, that if you have a story to tell, you have a product to sell. So he told me that I had a story to tell. So I began to tell my story. And my story is what opened doors for me to begin speaking. The story was about my husband and I divorcing and remarrying. So we divorced and then we remarried. And so I started sharing that story, started getting speaking engagements. People wanted to know more and all of those things. Again, I still knew nothing about a business. I knew nothing about the coaching space except for what I saw people doing online. And I started coaching, and coaching opened up, many other doors. But here's the thing that I wanted to encourage you all with. And before I say this, let me put this caveat, this disclaimer out here, that when I started my business, I started with what I had. So I didn't have money to invest into a coach at that time. I didn't have the skills, the knowledge. I didn't have the experience that I have now. My first website, I believe, cost me around $800. And at that time, $800 was a lot for me. I was doing a lot of the graphics and things myself. I was doing everything myself. And so again, but when I started with what I had. And what I had at that particular time in my life was a cell phone, Wi-Fi, and a laptop. That's how I built my business. I built my business with those things. And I built it to, to six figures with those things. I didn't, again, have the experience that I had, didn't have the knowledge that I have now. There are so many things that I can share with you on this journey of building to where I am, now. But I started with what I had. I used what I had in my hands. Now, here's the thing that I want to say. This does not negate the necessity of you investing in a coach if you have the funds. It's a difference when you don't have it or when you're afraid to invest. Those are two completely different things. But until you're at the place where you can invest to grow, then you use what you have until you can get where you need to be, right? So don't focus on the aesthetics because of building, right? So here's what I'm saying. When you see people online, like even myself, my graphics are bomb. I have an amazing brand designer. He's on payroll, and I pay him to create these things to help me expand and grow my brand. But I built my brand so that in my bank account, so that I would be able to invest, so that I would be able to grow to where I am now, to where I can invest in someone to do those things and make all the things pretty. But I did not allow the fact that I didn't have pretty graphics, that I didn't have a pretty website, that I didn't have all of these other things to stop me from doing what I could do with what I already had in my hands. And so one of the things that I learned on the journey is that while I thought that I needed a whole lot of other things, what the reality is that the reason God wasn't expanding my income and opening those doors is because I had forfeited what I already had. I wasn't really using the fullness or the totality of what I already had. And because of that, I was still stuck because I kept trying to convince myself that I needed all of these external things, all of these aesthetics in order to make money. But the value was already there. The value was already in me. The wisdom, the knowledge, the things that I could share with people to help them get to the point that I was at, it was already within me. But so often we want to build the aesthetics, the external things, so that it will look like we are a lot farther along than we are. And that's what can keep you stuck. That's what can keep you held up, and you really not being able to tap into that next level that you have been praying for. Okay. It does you no good to have a beautiful website, to have pretty pictures, pretty photos, and there's no substance. See, you cannot allow yourself to get caught up in the glitz and the glamour of building your business that you don't do the groundwork. Okay? I'm going to say it again. Don't allow yourself to get so caught up in the glitz and the glamour that you don't take the time to do the groundwork. Because if I don't tell you anything else, or if you forget everything else that I've told you up until this point, I want you to understand that it is the foundation that you build your business upon that will determine if you fail or flourish. Okay? Because here's the thing, everything built on a faulty foundation will falter. So if I had to tell anyone that's building their business anything, is to take care of your foundation. Take care of the foundation and building the things that are going to sustain, that are going to scale, and that are going to soar your business. Now, here's the reality. You may not know what those things are. If you do not, that's what you need to be investing in instead of trying to invest in the glitz and the glamour. You need to be investing in someone who can help you do the groundwork. All right? And taking it back to the foundation, see, I was able to hustle my way into six figures. There were so many things I didn't have. I didn't have systems. I didn't have software. I didn't have a real true sales funnel or real strategy. So I was burnt out. Yes, I was making the money, but I was so burnt out I couldn't enjoy it. And then what was supposed to be a blessing became a burden. Because again, I had hustled my way there. I was tired. I was overworked. I was underpaid. All those things because I didn't have the other things in place. So when I got to that point, I realized, man, I really need to invest in understanding how to build something that makes my money work for me, so that I don't have to work for it. So I don't have to spend so much time working for it. Okay. And so that's why when I checked my numbers last month, I worked 15 hours and still made multiple six figures. I had my first 6-figure month and I only worked 15 hours. And so that's unbelievable for some people. However, it's not unbelievable, and it's not impossible, because I went back when other people were still out here hustling. I went back and solidified my foundation. I went back and made sure that I had those things in place so that everything that I'm teaching, I know for a fact is going to work, and I can teach it to others. And so I went back and I worked on my foundation. Now, my foundation was not just systems and strategy. My foundation was also self. That means that I had to do some work within me. I had to shift some belief systems, some things that I believed that were not serving me, some things that I believed that were causing me to sink quickly. So I had to work on self. I had to get my spiritual foundation solid, which means I had to make sure that I was rooted and grounded in God for real, for real. I had to make sure that God, I was no longer just experiencing God as my as ruler, but as my father. And the reason why that part was so important, I shared this in another video, but the reason it was so important for me to know God as my father and not just as ruler is because I was hustling so hard because I didn't really trust God to provide for me. I was hustling so hard because I believed that if I didn't do it, it wouldn't be done. And so what that was evidence that I didn't really trust God the way that I said I did. Because if I did, I wouldn't be sacrificing myself. I wouldn't be sacrificing my sanity. I wouldn't be sacrificing my seed, my spouse, all of those things for a salary. If I truly trusted him the way that I said I did, then I would trust him to be able to give me the life that I desire, right? Without having to sacrifice all of these other blessings that he had given to me. See, when you get to the place where you begin to sacrifice your health, your mind, you're sacrificing the people that you love and all that stuff, that's not God. Because God did not create you. He did not give you all of those blessings for you to have to sacrifice them for this one thing. So again, the going back to what I'm saying, hey, for those who are just tuning in, shout yourself out in the comment section. Let me know where you're tuning in from. And those who've been here for a while, hit me up in the chat box real quick. Let me know what part of this is really, really sticking with you. What's connecting with you the most right now before I go back into the rest of this this content. Because again, this is encouragement. I wanted to take this time to encourage you all who are on this journey because, hey, Cassandra in Florida. Hey, Paula from Nashville. But I wanted to take the time to sit in this and really to encourage you all because this stuff is not for the faint at heart, but you won't falter if you're rooted and grounded. If your foundation is really rooted and grounded in the Father. Okay? So I'm going to say it again. This is not for the faint at heart. But you will not falter if you are rooted and grounded in the Father, right? Cassandra says, I needed to hear this. Nikki says, the blessing became a burden. I felt that. Yes, Nikki, because I was thankful to God because as a girl from a small town, I was pregnant at 14, right? Had my daughter at 15 years old. My first child was pregnant at 14, had her at 15. My background isn't ideal for success. So for a small town girl from a population of 1,500, it was 1,500 people when I graduated, to build a business from the ground and make six figures without experience, without knowledge, without help, without, any of those things. It's a blessing, right? But that same blessing that I was once so excited about became a burden because I was burnt out, because I was hustling so hard, because I had built this foundation without solidifying my faith in God and solidifying him as the Father and not just ruler, right? There's a different type of trust when you know God is your Father. There's a different type of trust when you know him intimately. And so, yes, I had faith in him, but I still didn't know God as my Father. I only knew him as a ruler. So I hustled because that was the thing that I knew how to do, right? Because I had solidified that faith in him. It's made him the foundation. Hey, Drea. And then Sid says the foundation parts. I'm from Alabama. Welcome, welcome, welcome from Alabama. Thank you so much. Yeah, the foundation is just so powerful, and it shifted everything for me. And I'm still learning and experiencing God as my Father. And he has put this mandate on my life to show other entrepreneurs how to do the same thing. And so that's where I am in this journey. Cassandra says, I needed to hear this. I'm so thankful that you're here. Hey, Alicia from Milwaukee. Hey, Lacey from Jonesboro. I'm glad you were able to catch me today. Yes, Cassandra says God's blessings add no sorrow. Absolutely. And so when we begin to get sorrowful about the blessings, then we need to check some things. Am I in alignment with what God has called me to do? Right? Did I move off of impulse and not instructions? I talked about that yesterday. Those are some questions you need to be asking yourself. That my desires, my selfish desires, overpower his divine destiny for my life. Okay. Shepherd's Crook says, absolutely, a strong spiritual foundation of God. Absolutely. Um, Angela says, been following you for some time. I've been struggling for some time. I have been struggling for some time. I'm not doing bad, but I'm growing weary. I need encouragement to keep going. Okay, so just go back and watch the beginning of this video as well, Angela, because I dropped a whole lot of encouragement there. She says, been struggling with that, but I'm learning good. She said, Cassandra says, God has been dealing with me on alignment in the season. Absolutely. Alicia says, I'm struggling with building my foundation because my faith is weary and my support and my mental health is very unstable. My hustle feels like a waste of time. And so I'm glad that you said, building the foundation. And that's literally when God gave me the retreat Breathe, which I've had to postpone it. But I do have a wait list for those who want to get on that wait list. When he gave me Breathe, initially I was just like, well, this is just for burnt out businesswomen. He said, no, this is for women who need to be reset. So be reset in their faith and the foundation of the Father. Be reset in experiencing God as their Father so that they can then experience transformation, healing, and expansion. He said, that's the purpose of Breathe, so that they need to be reset so that they can experience acceleration through healing, and then the expansion comes, right? So I'm also a huge advocate for mental health, which is why when I teach marketing from a mental health standpoint, a mental health aspect, because I saw too many marketing strategists or marketing coaches teaching you strategy, but you're still struggling and suffering in silence because you haven't dealt with the mental health, with your mental health. And so anywho, I just, again, I wanted to get on here and encourage you all to just don't quit, don't give up. But I do want you to learn to be reset. I want you to go back and ask God to help him experience you as your Father and not just as ruler. So one of the things that I've been telling people to do is to ask God daily, show me how much you love me. And here's why. Because we love God because he first loved us. We cannot love others until we know how to love ourselves. And we learn how to love ourselves through loving God, through allowing God to love us, because he shows us what that really looks like. The love of God is overwhelming. It will overtake you, it will overpower you if you allow it to. It will heal you from the hurt, the pain of your past. I know those things sound cliche, but they sound cliche to those who have yet to experience him as their Father. So when you only know God as ruler, what you begin to do is you begin to try to deserve his love. You try to deserve his blessings. You minimize the power that he really truly has because you don't know him as your Father. You forfeit the grace of God, and you begin to live by rules, regulations, and laws that you are unable to keep on your own because you do not know how much God loves you. And so when you don't know how much God loves you, everything that you do is performance-based. Everything you do is performance-based. You will overcompensate through accomplishments. You will feel validated by the things that you have accomplished, right? You will question every time something good happens for you. You'll question it. You'll reject ease, because when he said his yoke is easy, his burden is light, But when you don't know him as your father, you will reject the ease that you're supposed to live in. So everything becomes a struggle, a toil, and all of these things. It becomes all of that for you because you have not experienced God as your father, right? So I'm gonna share this real quick, and I have to get off because I actually have a class to teach in 6 minutes. Um, so when the reason I hustled, like I hustled so much, is because I told y'all I did know God as my father. However, once I began to experience God as my father, I stopped hustling because I trusted him in ways that I never trusted him before. So God started sending me clients from out of nowhere. And I was like 2 months and I wasn't promoting my business services um, because he told me that's not what he wanted me to focus on. But he kept sending clients that will pay me 5 figures in full, right? The other thing is, when I start experiencing him as my father, I no longer believe that I had to work hard to make money. So what was happening is, because that was my belief system, I never made any money unless I worked really, really hard, because again, I was trying to deserve everything. And so belief systems, this is one of my quotes as well, belief systems become birthing systems. And it wasn't until I started really experiencing him in that way that the belief system around me having to work hard for money shifted. Right? So I no longer believe that I have to work hard for money. And guess what? I don't. I don't work hard for money, and I still make the money that I want to make. So I went from 6-figure years to having a 6-figure month. And guess what? I worked less. I rested in him. I learned how to trust him even the more. So it became easy for me to make money because I shifted the belief system, because I began to understand just how much God loves me. And I know that the money that he sends to me is not about me. It's because of what I'm called to build, what I'm called to do. He knows that I have need of these things because there's a work for me to do. And so he also gave me the desires of my heart. I don't want to have to work hard. I don't want to have to stress myself out. I don't want to have to be out here hustling every day. I want to do this work because it's what I love. It's a blessing to me. It's a blessing to those who I'm called to. And guess what? God has blown my mind. So if you hear nothing else that I've said today, I want you to ask God. I want you to say, God, show me how much you love me. And do this every day. I do this. God, show me how much you love me today. And the strategies and the downloads that God has given me to now teach my clients how to build their businesses the same way is unbelievable. I tested it out on one client, and guess what she did? $3 million in sales in a little over 30 days. So don't tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about, and don't tell me that I don't know what I'm doing. But it all started when I began to experience God as my father, and I built my foundation. I went back and worked on the foundation. So now the way that I teach business, the way that I teach my clients is completely different than what I would have been teaching them years ago. Now, not only am I helping them to make more money in less time, I am helping them to restore their marriages. Why? Because marriages were under attack. Why? Because they were hustling so hard. Now I'm able to help them restore the relationships between them and their children. Why? Because they were hustling so hard, they didn't have time to be attentive. I'm helping them to build budding and beautiful friendships with other women that are also in their industry. Why? Because they are no longer hustling. Now they have time to hang out with their friends. I'm helping them to heal the wounds of insecurities, rejection, abandonment. I'm helping walking them through the process of forgiveness. Why? Because now they trust God as their father. Now they're really finding their true identity and value in him, and not in the amount of money that's in their bank account. So those are the women that I'm called to. That is the work that I'm called to do. I know other people teach many different things, but this is the work that Dr. Shamika Dean is called to, and I'm committed to it. And I'm continuing to help other women see the value in rest. to see the value in taking care of their mental health, to see the value in building a business around their life and not their life around their business. Right? So those are the women that I'm called to serve. That's the work that I'm called to do. Yes, there are some that teach the luxury and the labels, but Shamika teaches legacy. Shamika teaches legacy over labels. And when I'm talking legacy, I'm talking about building generational wealth for 5 to 10 generations to come. That's the kind of work that I'm called to do. I'm not called to labels and luxury. I'm called to legacy and a lifestyle of love, a lifestyle of wealth that doesn't cost you your health, doesn't cost you your husband, doesn't cost you your children, doesn't cost you your peace of mind, your sanity, or any of those things. Those are the women that I'm called to serve. So the women that come to me is bigger than their bank account. We help you build that bank account. We help you get major money. We do that. But my purpose is deeper. My purpose is bigger. Okay. So if you are that person and you want to work with me and you feel like this is the answer you've been praying for, this is the sign you've been looking for, that I'm the one that's aligned to help you, then send me a message in my DM. I will send you the link to apply to work with me. And when we get on that call, if I don't feel like I'm aligned to help, if I don't feel like I'm assigned to you, then I will release you so that you can be assigned, because I believe in alignment. I believe that alignment activates acceleration. And so if I'm not assigned to you, someone else is. And I won't get in the way of their assignment, and I will not block the acceleration that God has for your life. All right. So again, I got to get off here. I have a class to teach right now at this moment. Share this video with others. Until then, I love you all immensely and intensely.